recorded for a full 43 months now. This above baseline level activity began in April 2019. Factor 2. Increased carbon dioxide emissions at some locations just southwest of Pelee's summit. While carbon dioxide is crucial for a plant to grow via photosynthesis, too much of it can still be lethal to plant life. As a result, patches of dead vegetation appeared since late 2019. Factor 3. Since June 2022, inflation has been detected at Mount Pelee's summit, and in the time since has pushed a portion of the summit upwards by as much as 1.08 centimeters or 0.43 inches. While yes, this is a small uplift figure, it is unusual. Volcanic uplift suggesting the migration of some form of fluids, whether that be hydrothermal fluids or magma, to between 1 and 2 kilometers depth per this source. While this source did not release a figure for the presumed estimated volume change that caused this uplift in 2024, their 2023 paper cited an estimate of around 180,000 cubic meters of material. In a worst-case unlikely scenario, if all of this was to represent magma, and it was to all erupt, it would be quite a small volume incapable of producing anything larger than a mid-end VEI-1 eruption, much like the volcano produced in 1792 which only impacted its direct summit area. However, there have been no concrete signs of very shallow magma present to the best of my knowledge, and ground deformation has decreased since 2023. Also, some of the patches of dead vegetation killed by recent increases in localized carbon dioxide emissions have become revegetated, indicating a reduction in these gases in certain spots since late 2019. And finally, the rate and number of earthquakes seemingly peaked between April and September of 2021, and then had a steep fall-off. Earthquake levels then slightly increased in 2024 compared to the prior 2 years, but since March 2025 have notably risen once again to near peak 2021 levels. Of particular note is this occurred alongside an increase in the number of hybrid earthquakes, but also that month-over-month now a record high number of long-period earthquakes are occurring since the unrest began in 2018. This potentially indicates an influx of more fluids to intermediate depths, but whether this is a short-term fluke or a factor that ends up changing the otherwise overall declining levels of unrest at Mount Pelee is uncertain. However, before I give my opinion on the matter, I want to note that just because some form of volcanic unrest initiates at Mount Pelee like seen before some of its prior eruptions does not mean that this activity will 100% also result eventually in a volcanic eruption. I'd best explain the situation as an escalation staircase which can be climbed up or down at any moment, and for now it appears that we are going down rather than up this figurative staircase. Besides, similar albeit less intense volcanic earthquake swarms occurred in 1976, 1980, and 1985 to 1986, and of course none of these instances resulted in an eruption. The most likely outcome of the current unrest is probably no eruption occurring. As after all, most episodes of volcanic unrest at world volcanoes don't result in an eventual eruption. However, things can change, which is why Mount Pelee continues to be closely monitored. It is still out of the publishing of this video safe in my opinion to visit Martinique and even climb the Mount Pelee volcano. There does not appear to be any imminent danger currently. 26th most dangerous? As a final note, you might be interested to learn that despite causing the deadliest volcanic eruption of the 20th century, that Mount Pelee is not included within the world's top 10 or even top 25 most potentially dangerous volcanoes. Instead, it ranks in just outside of the latter group, coming in as the 26th most potentially dangerous world volcano per methodology meant specifically for United States volcano, which is outlined in this scientific paper. I now want to thank my new YouTube channel member Devin Rankin for supporting my work.